I'm Russell Rollason and I work at DFAT. That's the introduction. What can I say that hasn't been said already? Not much. But let me try to summarise some of what I think are the key takeaways that I'd like you to take home with you. The Foreign Policy White Paper is important for DFAT, launched by the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister. It's a guide for us in our policy development. It does commit Australia to the 2030 agenda, to SDGs, as you well know. It underscores the nexus between food, energy and water. It says we will share our water management experience. This becomes for us, for those who don't know how the bureaucracy works, page 33 and 95. This is a not 95, is it? This is a justification. This is our policy clearance to do what we're doing. And it's got the highest endorsement, if you like, launched by the Prime Minister from the Foreign Minister. DFAT, like most other government departments, like echoes. So if you're going to work with DFAT, and to some extent with AWP, although we see AWP as slightly free from our control in a sense, but if you're going to work with DFAT, this is what's guiding DFAT's thinking at the moment. So we've got policy clearance to share our water management experience and underscores the nexus between food, energy, water. There's an emphasis in the white paper on a rules-based order. But environmental rules aren't exactly mentioned strongly. They do exist. Rules-based orders means the international agreements in which governments have signed up to and will honour, etc. They may need a bit of reform and strengthening. So there's an interesting issue that lies in there that relates to the water sector around a rules-based approach. We need to show development impact. We want to make a difference, to quote somebody earlier today. To quote the session I was in, what will success look like? How will we know when we've achieved it? And John helpfully added to my little additions to this slide. How will we know when we achieve it? When our partners say thank you instead of goodbye. It gets the point across, doesn't it? So development impact, DFAT is interested in seeing that investments that DFAT makes with your money as taxpayers, with public money, reduces poverty, alleviates suffering, assists partners, i.e. countries in the region who we work with, to become more stable, prosperous and resilient. This is the context in which we develop our programs and get approval for our programs. So I just wanted to emphasise how important this is in DFAT thinking. High-level panel on water. It was established 2 years ago, comes to an end in March. It's the World Bank, UN Secretary General, the Prime Minister has been on it. Tony Slatcher has served it faithfully and has pretty well worn him out on travel internationally. It comes to an end in 2018. The outcomes will be announced on the 15th of March in New York. How can we... It's been of great benefit to Australia. It's been a very challenging time over the last 2 years because it's been a rush, it's a short period, a lot of expectations. How do we deal with all this? But the issue that faces all of us is that through this process, the profile and exposure that Australia has provided Australia in the water sector has been outstanding. It largely depends on the contributions that you people have made through those framing papers, through contributions, through discussions, and all the rest of it. But it's lifted Australia's profile. We all can benefit from that. We all have new opportunities. The challenge that DFAT has, and I'm happy to share it with you all, is what do we do now? If we've got to this point, we just drop off the cliff and go back to where we were. So we're all faced with this challenge. We've been given great opportunity, but now we've got to know how we follow up it, how we build on it. Water Guide, Water Data Initiative, they've had international impact and continue to have so. We've heard about them. Australia's experience in water scarcity has been a focus, but we need to be sharper about what is Australia's offer. That's come up several times today too. How do we articulate what it is we offer internationally? I better push these buttons occasionally, haven't I? The regional and global challenges. Climate change is going to be with us for the foreseeable future. It primarily impacts in the water cycle. We're going to have to think about how a lot of our water engagements relate to climate change and express it. We're going to have to articulate this issue. Climate change is water change. How do we articulate what we're doing in water into the political context of climate change? Because climate change is going to continue to push global politics because of the impact it's going to have on nations around the world. The water, food, energy nexus, I'm glad that Wahed was here to unpack that a bit. It's going to become more important. It's going to be part of the agenda that's going to influence us all. And to go back to the white paper, the government recognises this. That's a significant step forward. Gender inclusive development, DFAT expects this to be addressed. AWP knows that. AWP is responding to it. You're all going to be expected to address it. The emerging crises are in Middle East, Africa and South Asia. South Asia is fine, it's within our Indo-Pacific region. But we all know that the crunch is going to perhaps come in Middle East Africa as well as in South Asia. Middle East Africa isn't exactly Indo-Pacific. So already there's this dilemma. Yes, 10, 15, 20% of AWP's expenditure can be outside of region. But we're all going to have to deal with this issue that the reality of climate change and the water crisis may not hit neatly all within the Indo-Pacific region. And this is a public debate. It isn't just, the government said that. Governments change their views. Governments respond to international priorities. The Minister's interested in the Indian Ocean Rim because she's from Perth. She's also interested in this interesting group called MICTA. The M stands for Mexico, the T stands for Turkey. You know, some of those aren't exactly in the Indo-Pacific region either. So government policies, and of course Australia has diplomatic representation around the world, 154 countries or something, and those ambassadors know what's going on in their country, and several of them are already articulating that water is a critical issue, and we want Australia to help this country to address its water challenges. Jordan, for example. So this balance between need and Indo-Pacific priority, we're going to continue to wrestle with it. There's no straight answer. We're going to just have to continue to wrestle. We need commitment to see through capacity building, support for improved water governance. It was raised as endurance, I think by Jim Carey actually. We're going to have to work this through, and this is a challenge in itself, because 20 million doesn't solve these problems, over 4 years doesn't solve these problems exactly. So there's a challenge for AWP in there, but it's not just our challenge, it's increasingly a global challenge. Now let me go off screen. 2 observations that I want to pick up out of what was said. No, it's 3 actually. When to compete and when to cooperate. It's going to be a key one for us. Many companies in here will compete with each other for tenders. We all know that, and that's perfectly normal, perfectly acceptable. On other occasions, you'll form consortia to bid together on tenders. That's the way the world works. There's no tension around that. We just have to develop our capacity to know when to compete and when to cooperate. And that will be the maturity within our organisation with AWP of when we can sort those out. To go back to a theme I raised earlier, talk to people. Don't just send emails. Emails are important, of course. Modern communication is fantastic. But, you know, so is talking. So is building relationships. Somebody else said relationships. Talk to MPs. Please. We battle hard to get water a priority in the white paper. But it needs to be reflected in the political process too. I did ask somebody who came back to me about that. I said, have you talked to your MP about what you do overseas? Don't go asking them for money or anything. They haven't got anything to give you. But if you live in their electorate, make sure they know about what you do. You never know where that may lead to. But make sure they know, just as an informal thing, seek a meeting, tell them what you do overseas. Because let me tell you the story. When Junaid Ahmed, the inaugural convener for the Global Water Practice in the World Bank, came to Australia just before we got the Australia Water Partnership agreed by the Minister, partly to try and influence the decision making. And the mob out in New York, whose name skipped me at the moment, somebody mentioned it to me, Global Citizen Network, had rung around the MPs in Parliament House who they had links with and said, you must meet Junaid Ahmed. Fine, I was organising his program, and I kept getting these texts saying, oh, here's another MP, go and meet this MP, meet that MP. So we met them all, and he came out of that meeting saying, just amazed, he said, you know, all of them were doubtful about Australia's water experience. They all said, oh, we've stuffed up the Murray Darling, there's nothing to learn in Australia, go somewhere else. And he just couldn't believe it. He said, this is the model. We know that you haven't got it perfect. This is the model. How you went through this process is what the world wants to know about. And yet I've just spoken to about 10 MPs on both sides of the House who said, there's nothing here to see, go somewhere else. And he said, he just couldn't believe it. This is the challenge that we've all got. We don't need to be full of ourselves. We don't need to overstate it. We don't need to believe we've got the blueprint for the world. There's no blueprints in this business. But we need to be confident about what has been achieved and confident about the process. Sure. You know, somebody told the story of COVID failures. We had a high-level briefing in India when I was still in India, and Craig Knowles was part of this team, so was David Downey. And Craig Knowles stopped, and he'd been Minister in New South Wales when the books were burnt in Griffith. And he had to go out and front all these meetings around New South Wales with angry farmers. And when he told the story about one of the meetings where somebody threw a horse tip, it wasn't a real one, onto the table at the meeting, like that, he had that audience in his hands. They realised that this was a real issue in Australia. Not the horse did, but the fact that there was real feeling in this process of negotiations that, you know, this wasn't about the government had decided what it was. They went and told everyone and they all fell into line. You know, often when we tell our story, it all seems so natural. We can step it out on charts. This happened this year and all that year. He can communicate to them, no, this was a hard-fought issue. Nobody agreed when we started out on this process. It required negotiations. I'll take 5 minutes. So my final point, which I partly covered, there's no blueprint. We need to share our experience as much as the processes are technical outcomes. We need to share our experience. We need to share it with humility, but we also need to share it with some confidence about that process. So that balance becomes quite critical. And the final one is just a little passing remark. Rob Rendell made the comment. Before I make it, John gave me another helpful note. Just reiterate the point that getting those mentions into the white paper, as I've said, took it with a few challenges. We had to be a bit persistent about it internally, but it's there. But holding the government to achieve what's possible in that is part of the political process. And that occurs outside of the bureaucracy largely. And you have more involvement in that potentially than we can in the bureaucracy. So when you get out and start talking to people, I didn't go to the full list, I sidetracked myself on MPs. But it goes well beyond that. Talk to DFAT, talk to us at the desk. Yeah, you'll get knockbacks all the time because life's sort of busy with DFAT these days. But still try and talk to DFAT officers. Certainly talk to posts in other countries. Yes, they might say, no, we haven't got time and all the rest of it. Be mildly persistent, but talk to posts. Talk to international partners, AWP, World Bank, FAO, they've all been here, there's others. And talk to each other, of course. Talk to AWP partners. We need to improve our communication across the network, and we need to do it because we need to maintain this and build this confidence within Australia that we have got something to offer. We're not full of ourselves, we haven't got a blueprint, but we have got something to offer. We need to be confident about it. And so my final point was to go back to Rob Rendell's just sort of passing thing when the whole reform process began, that it depended on Deakin in 1890, was it, or something, introducing. Where did Deakin get it? Mexico. He'd gone through Mexico and he saw how their policies of separation of land and water rights, and he brought it back to Victoria. So it's interesting, isn't it, eh? We just had a delegation with Watergo in Mexico. So, the circles do go round, but all ideas don't come from Australia. Some of Australia's best ideas have actually come from somewhere else. Thank you.